When I look at the presidential campaign for 2016, I pretty much see the saddest picture I have ever seen of a presidential campaign in my life. None of these candidates have shown anyone they are an example of leadership. None of them have shown us a vision for what direction they want to take the country in. None of them have laid out a concrete plan to get our country out of its doldrums and make it into a great country like it was many years ago. Yes, your Donald Trump talks about making America great again, but he never presents any specifics. Instead, he goes into ad hominems, shaming tactics, and he makes everything all emotional. Same thing with your Bernie Sanders, your Hillary Clinton, and your Ted Cruz and your Marco Rubio. Not a single one of these candidates has debated based on facts, logic, reason, or laid out any sort of plan for what direction they want to take the country in. None of them are talking about serious issues that affect Americans, like our flat, stagnant economy. No one is talking about the upcoming crisis that's eventually going to come from this massive student loan debt that is crushing our young people and preventing them from entering the middle class. No one is talking about our dysfunctional education system and a way to make it functional again so that it produces producers and not consumers. And no one is coming up with a concrete plan for upgrading our outdated and obsolete infrastructure, which has not seen any sort of modification since the Eisenhower days. No one is talking about what direction they want to take the country in for the 21st century so that it can still remain great. No one is talking about creating new jobs and new marketplaces so that the American economy can grow. No one is talking about how they want to fix, our other struggling parts of our country, you know, like our water systems and other things. Again, going back to the infrastructure that has not been modified in 50 years since the Eisenhower period. No one is talking about our international foreign diplomacy and trying to, come up with a concrete plan to deal with this ISIL terrorist organization. Talking about bombing them is not a constructive solution. We need to start talking about going after the ideology and deconstructing that ideology so that people can understand that ISIL has nothing to do with Islam and that terrorism over the last 40 years in the Middle East has not brought anything constructive to that region. All terrorism has pretty much done is lead to deaths, but with no direction. And we look at your presidential candidates, and they're not trying to debate on any of these issues in an intellectual and constructive way that conveys to the American people, why these issues are important and why they would be the best leader to help create a solution for these problems. We're not seeing that. No, instead of us seeing an intelligent discourse on what plan that they have to lay out for the country and what direction they have for the country as it relates to domestic and foreign affairs, we're getting arguments, drama, name calling, shaming tactics, and deflections. And that's not what a president should be representing the United States of America. Remember, our president is a reflection of us. And it makes a powerful statement about we the people when we allow candidates like this to represent us. Because what these candidates are representing when they come out here with name calling, shaming tactics, arguing back and forth, is that they're saying that American people are pretty much in the sewer, and that American people are no different than an episode of Jerry Springer. And if our candidates are acting like guests on the Jerry Springer show, what does that say about we the people in the United States? It says that we're ignorant, loud, obnoxious, and it presents the worst image of what America is. That's what our candidates are doing right now. They are taking our American culture and driving it right down into the sewer. Instead of us seeing intelligent candidates presenting their points and counterpoints in an intelligent and constructive way, we're seeing a bunch of monkeys flinging feces at each other and then trying to make it look like they are they are the best to lead our people. I look at these candidates and not a single one of them is fit for leadership. Not a single one of these candidates has shown us any sort of leadership ability, any sort of motivation. They have no way of inspiring people to go out here and step up and do their best. Because I look at our president. Our president is supposed to be a leader. He's supposed to be the one who inspires people. He's the one who's supposed to motivate people. He's supposed to be the one who pushes people to do their best in government. He's the executive branch. And as a member of the executive branch, he has to show a vision, a leadership ability, and a vision for what direction he wants to take the country in. Another issue that we would think of that these candidates would talk about is trying to get this Congress to work together. We've had 8 years of 2 different Congresses, and not a single one of these Congresses has been able to get anything done. And what's sad, that's really sad when you think about it. A president, is supposed to be able to have a Congress that gets things done. He's supposed to be able to get people to work together. And I don't see any of these candidates in making any efforts to talk about how they're going to bring Congress together to get this country functioning again. Because this country is pretty much stalled. If you look at your Congress, they're just sitting there getting paid to do nothing. No legislation is getting passed. No policies are getting changed. Nothing is getting done. The country is grinding to a halt while everybody bickers and argues about petty things instead of focusing on the long-term goals of getting this country back on track. Because if we look at the Great Recession, it never really ended. 20 million people like myself are still out of work and still looking for work, and we're looking for a direction from your government, about how we're going to get people like myself back into the job market so that we can contribute to your American economy and get it functioning again. Because I look at your economy and it's stagnated. It's not growing the way it should grow. It's this consumer-based, service-based economy is just not strong enough. And we need to start looking at ways to create new markets, create new businesses, and create new platforms so that Americans can get employed again. Because if Americans aren't working, the tax base in most of the country is shrinking. And with a shrinking tax base, you're not going to have the revenue to pay for these big social programs like people like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders want to push, or the revenue streams, that your conservatives want to push either. We're not going anywhere. And America is not growing because no one knows how to work together. We have a bunch of individuals, but we don't have a vision for where anybody wants to take the group of Americans as a nation. And I look at America, and we have nobody on these candidates with that type of vision, with that type of idea, or any type of direction they want to go in. We have a lot of emotion, and we have a lot of pandering to emotion. And when I look at guys like Donald Trump, they're riling up the worst kind of emotion. They're not motivating people to go out and be their best. They're motivating people to go out here and be their worst. We have people out here motivated to bicker and argue and talk about, one person is going to make America great again. No, that's not the case. A president is supposed to be the leader that motivates us all to make America great and inspire us all to contribute in our own way and to be the best people we can be. And we're not getting that from any of these candidates. We have all of these candidates in the gutter, in the sewer, bickering and arguing, calling each other names, and not arguing not a single political issue on the points, on the merits, on the substance, and with any sort of logic or reason. We have a whole bunch of emotion, but no real layout of plans for specifics or layout of plans or direction anyone wants to take this country in. And this may offend some people, but this is the way I see our United States. This is the way I see this presidential campaign. I don't see anybody worth voting for or anybody worth electing to the executive branch of this great United States. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.